That struck me is the sheer size of the Forbidden City. I am inside just one courtyard right now, and maybe through the haze or the pollution, smog unfortunately, you can see that the buildings just kind of march on and on off into the distance and keep going, and that is going in that direction. Of course, I am surrounded by this courtyard here, and each one of these stone decorative columns have carvings and interesting things on them. These, I think, are clouds maybe, and snakes. But the buildings continue this direction, and I just came in this gate over here where there are another two, at least, enormous courtyards continuing in that direction, so that you can keep track of your tour group. This is the orange-capped tour group with a yellow guy passing through. They also have the flags that you see so that people can keep track of their tour guide and not get lost. Each of the courtyards have side entrances, kind of like this. The main, building, most of which you can't go through, but the doors will be open and they'll have, preserved areas there. But how you get through each courtyard is through side gates like this. Walk down a ramp, walk through the courtyard here, and then pop through another side entrance that direction and just keep going. This is opening into yet another courtyard through these large doors into another amazing courtyard with many people. At this point, your brain's going, ow! And you can see many of the side buildings, and over off in the distance they're doing some preservation work, so it's protected over the roof of one of the other places in the complex. Obviously, continuously ongoing restoration project here. Never ends. This is the inside of one of the buildings, sort of a throne room or a relaxation room. And they've got, some of the original decorations, I think, or maybe they've replaced some, but very elaborate carvings inside the room. One of the stone columns decorated. This one, I believe, has cranes, which I was told was peace and long life, which sounds good to me. And then behind and further down is an entire courtyard, all of it carved stone, steps. You can see there's some people walking to give you a sense of scale and perspective. You can see the elaborate paintings and decorations. This is just a typical example of the underside of the roof. Sorry, there's a tour group here. This building, you can see, is less well preserved, not nearly as colorful. It's faded because you can imagine the expense of trying to keep up preservation for all of these buildings all around us here inside the city. So some are repainted and some are not. An ongoing restoration project, obviously. But still, the buildings are beautiful, whether they've had a chance to be preserved or not. Lots of people enjoying having photos taken in front of these elaborate doors as a part of one of the... I've seen people who have, they like to grab the door knocker or act like they are knocking on the door while their recorder is making sure the picture turns out okay. You need to have multiple shots to make sure that it works. So I've discovered that these heads that are everywhere around the stonework in all of the buildings, these things, when I started paying attention, I realized, of course, they have a hole right here, and they are part of an elaborate drainage system for the walking area. Because if you look here, and there's another set of head things sticking out on the other side of that, and of course all the way down here are drainage holes that the water goes through and pops out the dragon's mouth on the other side. Pretty cool. And now we are standing in Tiananmen Square. We've just come through that gate here, and this is, of course, the massive building with a museum-like setting where they have artifacts that they have found from the Forbidden City, nicely displayed. This particular one, I believe, is some sort of a horse harness, obviously. The idea that this is just one item that is replicated throughout rooms and rooms and rooms of other artifacts here. I love this beautiful enamel basin. It says it has the design of the 8 emblems. So I guess I'd have to look around it and see what the various 8 emblems are. Jade seal set. So you have that special stamp there in red to indicate some sort of official court document, probably. This says this is a utensil used to hold gunpowder, which makes sense since the Chinese invented gunpowder. This is a painted enamel teapot, obviously, in the 1700s. So I'm sure a lot of tea was consumed here in the Forbidden City. It says red bottle in white ground. Again, 1700s, but I really like the red color and the contrast on the white. I think it's just beautiful. And then right next to it is a little box that collects snuff bottles. So each little drawer in there has a small glass snuff bottle in it, again from the same era, says Jade. This case is apparently to hold a variety of jadeware, but these are all little drawers, okay? So you can see the handles. It's a pretty big box. It's all covered in silk, and then they have a few of the drawers pulled out so that you can see the lining and the design, and also how the drawers are sort of tucked inside this whole complex of boxes. It says these are 45 cases which were used to store the most elegant jadeware in the palace. And as long as we're in the Forbidden City, we might as well look at a Ming vase. These, of course, are the real deal, unlike most of the reproductions, of course, that the rest of us can afford. It says the blue and white porcelain, this particular reign, this was late 1600s. Into the 1700s a little bit. This is looking down the hallway in just one of the buildings. Inside here are some of the museum pieces. As you can see, the hallway goes and goes and goes and goes. And it has decorative painting on the ceiling the whole way up and down. Beautiful blue and green designs underneath the eaves as well. And then, of course, a very nice view out into the courtyard.